Hello everyone, my name is Athena Aranha. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Clinical Psychology, Yenepoya School of Allied Health Sciences. Today I'll be talking to you about a very important and widely used therapy called REBT. The learning outcomes of this lecture are: the student will be able to comprehend the basic concepts of REBT, identify the ABC of the REBT framework, and organize REBT applications under clinical and non-clinical settings. So to talk about REBT, Rational Emotive Behaviour Therapy, let us first look at the origin of this therapy. This therapy was founded by a psychotherapist named Albert Ellis. Albert Ellis had a very sickly childhood. Throughout his childhood, he was in and out of the hospital multiple times. Yet, he was able to function well socially because he had good social skills. And through his interactions with people, he figured that people recover when they change their thinking. And this is where he started rational therapy, because he felt that people focus a lot on their thought pattern. Later, through his research, he realized that thoughts and emotions are very closely connected, and that's where he changed the name to Rational Emotive Therapy. Since behavior is also the outcome of thoughts and emotions, the name was finally changed to Rational Emotive Behaviour Therapy. By using rational and behavioral methods on himself, he was able to overcome his own problems, and that's how he founded the therapy REBT. REBT is the first cognitive behavior therapy. It works on the basic assumption that people contribute to their psychological problems by their own thought patterns and beliefs. That means there is a cause and effect relationship between cognition, that is the thinking pattern, the emotions, and ultimately the behavior of a person. So we can say that REBT is an integrative approach as it focuses on the thoughts, emotions, as well as behavior. So people are disturbed not by the events, but by the views which they have of the event. For example, suppose a student fails in the exam. They can look at this positively or negatively. They can either think they are not smart enough because they failed the exam, or look at it positively and say, I can do better next time. So when there is a negative event, we can either look at it positively or negatively, and thus frame our beliefs in a rational or irrational manner. And this is how, based on a rational belief, we will also have a healthy emotion, and if it's based on an irrational belief, we will have an unhealthy negative emotion. Our emotions come from our belief, which in turn influence our evaluation and interpretation of any situation. So we can say that REBT is a comprehensive theory of human behavior, and it also focuses on the causes of behavior, which could be biological, psychological, or social. Moving on to the key concepts of REBT. Ellis talks about two important concepts. The first is the view of human nature. He says that by nature, human beings have scope to have rational as well as irrational thoughts. Now, rational thoughts are the good or pleasant or healthy thoughts, whereas irrational are the unhealthy thoughts. By virtue of being a human being, people have scope to have both these thoughts. So the rational thoughts lead to self-growth, whereas the irrational thoughts lead to self-harm. The basic idea of REBT is to accept these thoughts and accept the human being as they are, even though they are capable of having irrational thoughts. The second key concept is the view of emotional disturbance. Ellis says that our irrational beliefs come from what we have learned throughout our childhood, and this is what we replay or recreate in our adult life. So when we have a faulty or irrational thought, we tend to blame ourselves. So the core of all of our problems are self-blame. And in order to solve our problems, we need to stop self-blame. Let us now look at the famous ABC model of REBT, where A stands for activating event, as well as the inference or the evaluation we have of an event. B is the belief and C is the consequence. Let us look at an example. A friend passed me in the street without acknowledging me. So you can assume that the friend is ignoring you because he doesn't like you. So that is the activating event A and the inference of the event. So what happens next is the belief that you build based on this event. So the belief here is that I am unacceptable as a friend, so I must be worthless as a person. And this belief in turn gives rise to behavior. So the behavior here is feeling sad, feeling low, and maybe in turn avoiding people. So we see here that it starts with our inference of an activating event, which then leads to our belief, which ultimately leads to behavior. So A does not cause C. The activating event does not cause the behavior or the consequence. It works in a chain. A triggers B and then B causes C. Let us understand this through a case study. David catches the train to work. This has become a major cause of frustration and stress for him. Every day he approaches the railway station hoping that the train will be on time. On a Wednesday morning, he arrives at the station and sees the train has been delayed. So his thoughts then become irrational. So what are some of the irrational thoughts he could have at that moment? It can't be late again. Now I'm going to be late for work. I can't stand being late. This always happens to me. My manager is going to be furious. I'll never be able to catch up on the work now, and so I'll have to stay late. So these could be some of his irrational thoughts. Because of this, David's stress levels increase and he becomes angry and he feels like shouting at the railway staff. The result is David has let his irrational thinking get the better of him, which ultimately impacts his well-being. So the A here, the activating event, is that the train arrives late. The B, the belief, is that the train is always late and so I will be late to work. And the outcome or the consequence, the C, is that he argues with the railway staff. After using REBT techniques, David will be able to control his emotions and come up with logical solutions. So what he can do is he can check if the train is on time. So before leaving home, he can check online if the train would be on time or not. The train being on time or not is not something that is under his control. So this is what he realizes through REBT. Even if the train is late and he gets angry, he won't make it to work on time. And this is his realization through REBT. So immediately his stress levels reduce, his anxiety in the morning is reduced, and David now knows that if the train is late, he has another option, that is to drive to work instead. Moving on to what are the practice principles of REBT. Once REBT sessions are done, the client has the freedom to choose their own thoughts, their feelings and behavior. The focus here is not on positive thinking, but the aim is to focus on realistic thinking. REBT is eclectic in approach, that is, it makes use of various other modalities and therapies and approaches. It is also educative, collaborative and participative. That is, the client has an equal role to play as much as the therapist. The therapist works in line with the client's value system. The past is of importance here because we are focusing on irrational thoughts, and our irrational thoughts are originated in the past. Therefore, past is of importance in REBT. It is also brief and time limited. And through the REBT sessions, the client's underlying belief system itself undergoes a major change. Moving on to the applications of REBT. First and foremost, REBT can be used to treat depression. It is also used to manage various anxiety disorders such as OCD, agoraphobia, specific phobias, generalized anxiety, and even PTSD. It can also be used for eating disorders, various addictions, and impulse control disorders. REBT finds usage in anger management, antisocial behavior, as well as management of personality disorders and sexual abuse recovery. It can also be used to adjust with chronic health problems, physical disabilities, or mental disorders. It finds usage in the management of pain and even stress reduction. Child and adolescent behavior disorders also can be used. REBT can also be used to treat child and adolescent behavior disorders. In a non-clinical setup, REBT finds usage to help in personal growth, that is, self-interest, self-acceptance, and risk-taking. It is also effective to be used in workplace settings. To summarize what we have learned, REBT was founded by Albert Ellis, and this therapy focuses on one's thoughts, emotions, as well as behavior, and thus it is an integrative approach. It has the ABC framework, that is A, which stands for activating event, B, which stands for belief, and C, which is the consequence. And lastly, REBT can be used in clinical as well as non-clinical settings. Thank you.